The sun rose over the village of Ogbunike like a tired old man, casting weak shadows across the dusty paths. Tari stood at the riverbank, his fishing net draped over his shoulder like a ghost's embrace. He was only 17, but his eyes carried the weight of someone much older, someone who had watched his mother cough through sleepless nights, someone who had seen his younger siblings fight over half a yam. "Tari, did you catch anything?" His mother's voice drifted from their small mud hut, weak and hopeful. He looked down at his empty basket and felt his heart sink. "Not yet, Mama, but I will." Ogbunike River stretched before him, dark and mysterious. Village elders often whispered about its secrets, how spirits danced beneath its surface at midnight, how fishermen who ventured too deep never returned. But Tari had no choice. Desperation doesn't respect superstition. His best friend Boma appeared beside him, chewing on a stick of sugarcane. Boma's family was different. They had food, they had clothes that weren't patched 3 times over. Yet Boma still complained about everything. "Still fishing in this cursed water," Boma laughed, shaking his head. "My father says you're wasting your time. The river's been empty for weeks." "What else can I do?" Tari's voice cracked slightly. "My mother needs medicine. My siblings are hungry. I have to try." Boma shrugged and walked away, leaving Tari alone with his thoughts and his empty nets. That night, as the village settled into uneasy sleep, Tari couldn't rest. The moon hung full and bright, painting the river silver. Something pulled at him, a feeling he couldn't name, like invisible fingers tugging at his soul. He grabbed his net and walked toward the water. The riverbank was silent except for the gentle lapping of waves. Tari cast his net, whispering a prayer his grandmother had taught him. "Spirits of the water, I come in peace. Share with me so I may share with others." Then he saw it, a golden glow beneath the surface, growing brighter and brighter until the water itself seemed to be made of light. Tari stumbled backward, his heart hammering against his ribs. The glow rose, taking shape, a figure emerging from the depths. She was breathtaking. Her skin shimmered like polished bronze, her eyes were deep pools of ancient wisdom, and her hair, it cascaded down her shoulders like rivers of pure molten gold, each strand catching the moonlight and throwing it back tenfold. "Plaza," she whispered, her voice like wind through reeds. "Don't be afraid." Tari's mouth went dry. He knew what she was. The elders' stories came flooding back, mermaids who guarded the river's secrets, beings from another realm who rarely showed themselves to humans. "I won't hurt you," he managed to say. Her smile was sad and beautiful. "I know, I can see your heart, Tari. You're kind, you're suffering, that's why I came. You know my this river knows all names." She moved closer to the shore, her tail covered in scales that sparkled like diamonds, barely breaking the surface. "I'm lost. I need help returning to my realm. Will you help, Ma?" Tari nodded, still unable to fully process what was happening. But even in his shock, a small, terrible thought crept into his mind, a thought that would change everything. Her hair looks like real gold. Tari couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Nama's golden hair shimmering in the moonlight. He tossed and turned on his thin mat, listening to his mother's lubcud breathing from across the room. By dawn, he knew he had to tell someone. The secret felt too heavy to carry alone. He found Boma near the village square, lounging under a mango tree with other boys. "Boma, I need to talk to you." "Alone?" Boma raised an eyebrow but followed him to a quiet spot behind the old cassava mill. "What's got you looking like you've seen a gust?" "I met someone last night at the river." Tari's voice dropped to a whisper. "A mermaid?" Boma burst out laughing, slapping his thigh. "A mermaid? Tari, have you been drinking palm wine?" "I'm serious." Tari grabbed his friend's arm. "Her name is Nama. She's real, Boma, and her hair, it's made of gold, real gold." Laughter died on Boma's lips. His eyes narrowed, calculating. "Gold, you mean like actual gold? I've never seen anything like it. Each strand glows luck. How much do you think it's worth?" Boma interrupted, his voice suddenly urgent. Tari stepped back, uncomfortable. "She needs help. She's lost and can't find her way back to her realm. She asked me to." "Are you insane?" Boma hissed, moving closer. "Do you know what golden hair like that could buy? Medicine for your mother, food for your siblings, a new house, everything, Tari, everything you've ever needed." "She trusts me. She came to me for help." Boma's expression hardened. "And how long will your mother last without medicine? Another month, another week? Your family is dying, Tari. This mermaid, she's from another world. She doesn't understand what poverty feels like, what hunger feels like." Tari felt something twist inside his chest. He wanted to argue to defend Nama, but Boma's words dug into the soft, desperate parts of his heart. "Just think about it," Boma continued, his voice smooth now, persuasive. "We take just a little, just enough to help your family. She's a magical creature, her hair will probably grow back. It's not like we're hurting her permanently." "Don't know. Your mother is coughing up blood, Tari. Your little sister fainted from hunger yesterday." "I saw it." Boma placed both hands on Tari's shoulders. Sometimes we have to do difficult things to survive. That's not evil, that's just life. For 3 days, Tari wrestled with the decision. He went to the river every night, and each time Numma appeared, she spoke to him about her home beneath the waves, about crystal palaces and gardens of coral. She laughed at his jokes and listened when he talked about his fears. And with every conversation, Tari's guilt grew heavier, but so did his desperation. On the 4th night, Boma appeared at his hut carrying a sharp fishing knife. "Tonight," he said simply. "If we wait any longer, she might leave on her own and you'll have lost your only chance." Tari's hands trembled as he took the knife. "What if the stories are true? What if cutting a mermaid's hair brings a cussa?" Boma scoffed. "Stories told by old people to scare children. The only curse is poverty, my friend. And tonight we break it." They walked to the river together, the knife hidden beneath Tari's shirt. The moon was blood-red that night, hanging low and heavy in the sky. Even the insects seemed quieter than usual, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Numma rose from the water with her usual grace, her smile bright and trusting. "Tari, I'm so glad you came. I think I found a way to." She stopped, noticing Boma. "Who is thus, my friend? He wants to help too." Something flickered in Numma's eyes, doubt perhaps, or fear. She moved back slightly in the water. "The river tells me there is darkness in one of your hearts. Be careful, Tari, be very careful what you choose tonight." Boma stepped forward, his voice honey-sweet. "We only want to help, beautiful one, but first could you come closer? We need to see how your magic works." Numma hesitated, her gaze locked on Tari. "Do you promise you mean me no harm?" Tari opened his mouth, but no words came out. The knife felt like fire against his skin. "Her promises," Boma answered for him, and slowly, trustingly, Numma swam closer to shore. Numma's golden hair floated on the water's surface like a halo of light. She settled on a smooth rock near the shore, her tail dipping gracefully in and out of the gentle waves. Up close, she was even more magnificent. Her scales caught every shade of blue and green, and her eyes held centuries of wisdom. "Tell me about your family," she said to Tari, her voice warm with genuine interest. "I can feel your worry for them. It radiates from you like heat from a fire." Tari's throat tightened. "My mother is very sick. The medicine man wants 3 months' wages for treatment. I don't have it. I'll never have it." Numma's expression softened with compassion. "In my realm we have healing waters. Perhaps I could bring some for her when I return home. Would that help?" His kindness in her offer made Tari's chest ache. He glanced at Boma, who stood behind Numma, making urgent gestures, pointing at her hair, then at the knife, then making a cutting motion. That would be wonderful," Tari whispered, his voice cracking. "Then it's settled." Numma smiled, turning her back to adjust her position on the rock. Her hair cascaded down, pooling on the stone, each strand gleaming with an inner light. "Tomorrow night I'll bring the waters. Your mother will be well, Tari. I promise you this." Behind her, Boma silently drew out a second knife he'd been hiding. He crept forward, cat quiet, his eyes gleaming with greed. Numma suddenly stiffened. "What?" But it was too late. Boma grabbed a handful of her hair and brought the blade down. At the same moment, paralyzed by fear and guilt, Tari's hand moved as if controlled by something outside himself. His knife joined Boma's. The sound was unlike anything Tari had ever heard. Not the simple snip of hair being cut, but a sound like reality itself tearing. Like 1,000 voices screaming at once. Like the earth crying out in pain. Numma's scream pierced the night. It wasn't a human scream. It was the sound of the ocean in a storm, of whales singing their death songs, of every drop of water in the world mourning at once. The golden strands fell into the river, and where they touched the water, the darkness spread like spilled ink. No, what have you done?" Numma thrashed in the water, her hands reaching desperately for her severed hair, but it was already sinking, already dissolving into the corrupted river. Her remaining hair, still attached to her head, turned from gold to dull grey. Her eyes, once warm and kind, became hollow with betrayal and agony. The sky above them cracked with thunder, though there were no clouds. The river began to churn and boil, rising up the banks in angry waves. "You cut my freedom." Numma's voice was no longer gentle, it was the voice of ancient fury. "You cut my power, you cut the sacred bond between river and realm." Tari dropped the knife, stumbling backward. I'm so sorry, I didn't mun." Sarah, Numma's laugh was hollow and terrible. "You chose greed over trust, you chose gold over goodness." She raised her arms and the water rose with her. "I warned you, I told you there was darkness, and now that darkness will devour you all." The golden hair they'd cut began to glow again, but this time the light was wrong, sickly, pulsing with malevolence. It rose from the water like serpents, writhing and twisting. "This river gave you life," Numma cried out, tears streaming down her face. "It fed your ancestors, quenched your thirst, blessed your crops, and you repay it with betrayal. You violate its guardian for Kun." Bummer grabbed the grey, lifeless strands that lay on the rock, all that remained solid of the golden hair. We should go. Nah, you cannot run from water, Nummer whispered, and the words seemed to come from everywhere at once. Water remembers, water returns, water takes back what was stolen. River exploded upward in a column of black water. Tari and Boma ran, their screams lost in the roar of the angry waves. Behind them they heard Nummer's final words, spoken not in rage but in infinite sorrow. You wanted my gold to end your suffering. Instead, you have begun suffering that will never end. They ran through the forest, branches tearing at their skin, their hearts pounding like war drums. The golden hair in Boma's hands felt heavy, hover with each step, as if it was made of lead instead of light. When they finally stopped, gasping for breath at the edge of the village, Tari looked back. The river glowed with an eerie green light, and the water had risen so high it was lapping at the roots of trees that had never been touched by floods before. What did we do? Tari whispered. Boma, what did we do? Bummer held up the hair, and in the moonlight they could both see that it had changed. It was no longer golden. It was grey and brittle like the hair of a corpse, and from far away, carried on the wind, they heard a sound that would haunt Tari's dreams forever, the sound of a mermaid weeping for her stolen freedom and the river weeping with her. The next morning the village woke to silence. No birds sang, no roosters crowed, even the wind seemed afraid to blow. Tari hadn't slept. He sat outside his hut, staring at his hands as if they belonged to someone else, someone terrible, someone he didn't recognize. His mother emerged, leaning heavily on a walking stick. Tari, why is the air so strange today? It feels wrong. Before he could answer, screams erupted from the direction of the river. Villagers were running, shouting, pointing. Tari's stomach dropped. He ran toward the commotion, his mother calling after him in confusion. The Ogbunike River, the lifeblood of their village, the source of all their food and water, had turned completely black. Its surface was thick and oily, and a smell of rot and decay rose from it like breath from a corpse. Old Papa Ukafkai, the village fisherman for 40 years, stood at the bank, his nets empty and torn. It's gone, he whispered, his voice hollow. All of it, every fish, every crab, every living thing. The river is dead. Woman who had come to collect water backed away from the black liquid, refusing to touch it. Children cried. Men argued about what could have caused such a disaster. Tari felt Boma appear beside him. We need to leave, Boma hissed. Now, before they figure out it was us. How could they know? River knows, Tari. And if the river knows, the spirits will tell. But leaving wasn't so simple. By noon, the village chief had called an emergency gathering. Everyone assembled in the square, fear written on every face. Chief Okonkwo was an ancient man, his face mapped with wrinkles deep as river valleys. He raised his staff for silence. The river has been violated, he announced, his voice grave. Someone has broken the sacred laws. Someone has angered the guardians. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. We must find who did this and make amends, or we will all suffer. The spirits are not merciful to entire communities when one person sins. Tari felt cold sweat running down his back. Beside him his mother swayed, and he caught her before she fell. Mama, her skin was burning hot, hotter than it had ever been. I don't feel well, she whispered. The water, I drank from the river this morning before dawn, before it turned black. Horror filled Tari's chest. Others in the crowd were beginning to collapse too. Everyone who had drunk from the river since midnight was falling ill with burning fevers and violent shaking. This is your fault, a woman shrieked at Tari, though she couldn't have known the truth. Your family has always been cursed with poverty. Maybe your bad luck has spread to all of us. Tari wanted to defend himself, but the words died in his throat, because she was right. This was his fault. At night, as he tended to his mother, bathing her with water he'd begged from a neighbor whose well hadn't been contaminated, he heard Boma's voice outside. Tari, you need to see this. Reluctantly, Tari stepped outside. Boma's face was pale, his eyes wide with terror. The hair, the mermaid's hair, I hid it in my family's storage hut wrapped in cloth. And it's gone, not stolen, gone, it vanished, and in its place. Boma's voice dropped to a terrified whisper. There was water, a pool of black water. On dry ground, Tari, and I heard her voice, Nama's voice coming from the water. What did she say? She said, one has been marked, two will pay, but all will suffer until balance is restored. If summoned by her name, a scream tore through the village. Tari and Boma ran toward the sound. A crowd had gathered near the river and people were pointing at something in the water. Tari pushed through and immediately wished he hadn't looked. It was Boma's father. His body was being dragged into the river by something beneath the surface, something with pale, waterlogged hands and eyes that glowed green in the darkness. His screams were cut short as he disappeared beneath the black water. Silence fell. Then chaos. River is taking us, someone yelled. We're cursed. We'll all die. Boma stood frozen, staring at the spot where his father had vanished. No tears came, just shock, just emptiness. The village chief's voice cut through the panic. The spirits demand justice. Someone here has committed a grave sin. Come forward now or we will all be punished. Tari felt every eye turn toward him, not because they knew but because poverty had always made him an easy target for blame. But before anyone could speak, the river exploded upward. A column of black water rose 20 feet into the air, and within it they could all see her, Naima, grey-haired and ghostly, her eyes blazing with righteous fury. Betrayers, her voice echoed across the village. You harbour those who broke the sacred trust. Find them, or one by one the river will claim you all. The column collapsed back into the river with a sound like thunder. In the terrible silence that followed, Tari felt something break inside him. He opened his mouth to confess, to end this nightmare, but Boma grabbed his arm, fingernails digging into skin. Don't, he hissed. If you tell them, they'll kill us. We have to find another way. What other way? Your father is dead. My mother is dying. The village is cursed. We fix it ourselves, Boma insisted, desperation making his voice sharp. We go back to the river, we apologize, we beg her to stop. But if the village finds out, they'll execute us before we get the chance to make it right. Tari looked at his friend, really looked at him, and saw only a frightened boy who had made a terrible mistake and couldn't find his way back to being good. Maybe they were the same. That night, as his mother's fever burned hotter and the village descended into fear and finger-pointing, Tari made his decision. He would return to the river, he would face Naima, he would beg for forgiveness, but deep down in the darkest part of his heart he suspected it was already too late. The curse had been unleashed, and curses once awakened are almost impossible to put back to sleep. 3 days passed, 3 days of horror. The illness spread like wildfire. Half the village lay burning with fever, including Tari's mother and both his siblings. Crops withered overnight. Animals refused to drink from wells, as if they could sense the corruption spreading through the water table. And every night someone disappeared, taken by the river. Boma's younger brother vanished while washing clothes at dawn. The blacksmith's daughter never came home from collecting firewood near the riverbank. An elder who had spoken against the spirits was found floating face down in a puddle no deeper than a handprint. The village was dying, drowning in black water and ancient fury. Tari had tried everything. He'd gone to the river every night, calling for Naima, begging for mercy. But she never appeared, only her voice, cold and distant as the moon. Justice, she would whisper from the water. Only justice will end this. On the fourth night, Tari sat beside his mother's mat, holding her burning hand. She was barely conscious, mumbling incoherent words about rivers and gold and betrayal. Somehow in her fever dreams she knew, mothers always know. I'm sorry, Mama, Tari whispered, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry. Boma burst into the hut, wild-eyed and frantic. The village knows, Chief Okonkwo called in a diviner from the next town. He threw the bones and they pointed to us. They're coming, Tari, they're coming to kill us. Tari felt strangely calm. Maybe they should. What? We did this, all of this death, all of this suffering, it's because of us, because of me. I'm not dying for a fishwoman's pride. Boma grabbed Tari's shoulders. We run, tonight we can start over somewhere else. The curse, does it stay here or follow us? Tari pulled away. My mother is dying, Boma, your brother is gone, running won't bring them back. Then what do we do? Tari stood, his decision crystallizing like ice in his heart. We give Naima what she wants, justice. He walked out into the night before Boma could stop him. Angry voices were rising from the village center. Torch lights bobbed in the darkness like angry fireflies. They were coming. Tari ran. Not away, but toward the river, toward his fate, toward the only ending this story could have. The Ogbunike River lay before him, black and still as a scar across the earth. The moon hung full and bright above. The same moon that had witnessed his betrayal. Naima, his voice cracked. I'm here, I'm ready. The water didn't stir. Please, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable. But they don't deserve this, the village, my family, the children. They did nothing wrong, punish me, take me, but let them live. Still nothing. Tari pulled out the knife, the same blade he'd used to cut her hair. His hands shook as he held it over his heart. If my death is what justice demands, stop. Voice was soft, barely a whisper, but it froze Tari's blood. The water began to glow, not golden as before, but a pale, ghostly silver. Naima rose from the depths and Tari gasped. She was a shadow of her former self, her skin translucent, her once beautiful features gaunt, her grey hair floating around her like seaweed around a corpse. You would give your life? She asked, her voice hollow. Yes, 1,000 times yes, just save them. Please. Naima drifted closer, her eyes searching his face. Why should I believe you? You who took everything from me, you who chose gold over trust, because I have nothing left to gain by lying. Tari's tears fell into the river. I destroyed my own life trying to save it. I betrayed the one being who showed me kindness. I brought death to everyone I love. If my death can undo even a fraction of that harm, then it's the only good choice I have left to make." For a long moment, Naima simply stared at him. Then something shifted in her expression, not forgiveness exactly, but something softer. Recognition, perhaps understanding. "Your friend," she said. "The one who urged you on, where is he?" As if summoned, Boma appeared behind Tari, breathing hard. "Tari, don't." He froze when he saw Naima, her eyes locked onto Boma and her expression hardened into pure hatred. You were the rot at the heart of this. You poisoned a good heart with greed. You took without remorse. You feel no guilt even now." Boma stepped back, but the river water rose up behind him, forming a wall. He was trapped. "Wait," Tari moved between them. "If you want justice, take me. Boma was wrong, but I held the knife too. The choice was mine." "Noble," Naima said coldly, "but insufficient. The curse demands balance. 2 cut my hair, 2 must pay the price." Water began to form hands, dozens of them reaching for Boma. He screamed, scrambling backward, but there was nowhere to go. "Please," Tari shouted. "There has to be another way. Mori death won't heal anything." "Then what would you offer?" Naima's voice was sharp as broken glass. "What payment balances the scales?" Tari looked at the knife in his hand, then at the river, then at Naima's ghostly form, and he understood. "Life for life," he whispered. "Not death, life. Take my life force, my years, my breath, whatever magic sustains me, and use it to restore yourself. Use it to heal the river. I give it freely." Naima's eyes widened. "You would become whatever I need to become. Guardian, servant, spirit, I don't care. Just let me fix this." Behind him, Boma made a desperate sound. "Tari, no, you can't." But Tari was already walking into the water. It was cold, so cold it burned. The black water rose to his knees, his waist, his chest. With each step, he felt something fundamental changing inside him, his humanity dissolving like salt in the sea. "I'm sorry," he said one last time. "For all of it, let my service be my apology." Naima reached out and placed one translucent hand over his heart. "This is no small thing you offer. Once you step beneath these waters, you cannot return. You will be bound to the river forever, neither fully human nor fully spirit. You will feel every pain the river feels, every violation, every death. Is this truly what you want?" Tari thought of his mother, burning with fever, his siblings crying from hunger, the village tearing itself apart in fear. "It's what I deserve," he said. "And what they need." He took a breath, his last breath as a human being, and dove beneath the surface. The water swallowed him whole. The villagers arrived at the riverbank just in time to see it happen. They watched in awe as the black water began to clear, starting from the center and spreading outward like a stain in reverse. They watched as Naima's form grew brighter, more solid, her hair regaining hints of its golden glow. They watched as Boma screamed and tried to flee, but the water caught him, dragged him down. And when he surfaced moments later, his mind was gone, emptied like a broken cup, leaving only a shell that would wander the village forever, muttering about gold and rivers and the price of greed. And they watched as, at sunrise, 2 figures swam together in the now clear water, a mermaid with hair like dawn light, and beside her, a merman with eyes that held infinite sadness and infinite purpose. Some say Tari guards the river still, warning those who would take what doesn't belong to them. Some say he's found peace in his eternal service. Some say late at night, if you listen carefully, you can hear him singing, a wordless melody that speaks of mistakes and mercy, of betrayal and redemption. The village recovered, the crops grew back, the illness faded. Tari's mother woke one morning to find her fever broken and a single golden scale on her pillow, a gift from the river, a message from her son. She kept it until the day she died, and she never spoke his name without tears. 3 years later, the river still flows clear and pure, but the people of Ogbunike never forget. They teach their children the story of Tari and the golden hair, not as a tale to frighten, but as a truth to remember. Greed can buy gold, but never peace. Betrayal has a price that echoes through generations, and redemption, when it comes, demands everything.